So thank you very much for attending. The reason why we're doing this today is to just get some background for any new area directors or even division directors that maybe have already done contests, just to give them a little bit of fine tuning, some recommendations, some helpful hints and things like that. We did this presentation. I did it 2 or 3 times for training for the clubs in their own way of what they needed and the importance of it and all the benefits. So today my purpose is this, is I'm going to start off with a little bit really quickly what the benefits are. Why are we doing contests? What is the benefits of it? Jim, did you get it? Okay. What are the benefits? And then I'm going to go into some specifics. In other words, who are the people that we need to be successful? A little bit about their rules, some best practices, some uh-ohs, I mean, stay away, things that we really shouldn't do. And then this is your training for you guys. So hopefully if you have questions, you can share them with me. So I'm going to start with what I remember from the PowerPoint is, let's start with benefits. What do you think some of the benefits are? Thanks, Jim. What some of the benefits are for contests? Why do you think we hold contests? All right, so Jim, some of those are hidden. Are you not getting the hidden ones?
There.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So what are some of the benefits, guys? And listen, this is open, so open your mics, throw out some answers. Don't need to raise your hands. This isn't a corporate thing. This is all for you. So go for it.
To learn from accomplished speakers.
Okay, so to learn from accomplished speakers, very good.
Maybe to test how good we are going with our goals.
All right, so how we are with our goals, very good. Jimmy, you want to go to the next slide?
From a contestant standpoint, to step out of our comfort zone and challenge ourselves to...
Perfect. Yep. So step out of our comfort zone, challenge ourselves. Think about it. When we're in clubs, we are talking to the same people over and over when we give speeches. When we move out of the clubs to the area and the division, it's a whole new audience. And with a whole new audience, we're building our confidence, right? One of the things what's really important, Toastmasters, that trust issue. Well, we need to let them know that it's not just in the clubs with the trust. It's in the areas. It's in the divisions. It's in the districts. Next slide, please, Jim. So it's all in all of that. Okay, so it's a different audience, a different evaluator. Even though they don't see their evaluations, I think it's important about that, and especially with this, with the contests that we have going here, the humorous and the international, they get to stay in the room. So they get to see what their competitors are doing. So they can see, not only evaluate them, but can see, okay, John won. What did I see that John did that I didn't do? And they can self-evaluate better. Confidence, networking is so important. For those of them that aren't contestants, it's a whole, your people that are playing functionaries and roles, it's new leadership skills. Anybody who's taking on the chief judge role or your contest master role or your contest toastmaster, new leadership, the practice for judges for different active and listening skills. When your judges get there, if they're new to judging, they're going to get the form. The form is going to tell them exactly what they're looking for. That may be something that they never thought of looking for when they're competing, when they're listening in a club. And then again, some collaboration and organization skills. But what do you think the number one reason and the number one thing that we want to make sure that people have when they do these contests?
Confidence.
Confidence is good, but there's one more. Go ahead, Jim. Fun. We want them to have fun. We don't want them to get stressed out. So which means anybody who's taken a role in these contests need to also make sure that they're relaxed and having fun. Because if they're stressed out, they're going to make the contestants stressed out. And what's the one thing we need to do in order to show that we have confidence if we're taking on one of these roles? What's the PPP that we always say for Toastmasters? Remember? Practice, practice, practice. So just like we're going to have the contestant practice, if you have people taking roles, like maybe not judges, but your contest master, your contest chair, your chief judge, they need to practice too because they play an important role in all of this too. So Jim, can we go to the next slide, please? And guys, I'm sorry that this is a little bit, Jim, go to the next slide. So we can get rid of that slide. We don't need that one. I'm sorry, I should have hit it. All right, so get rid of that one. I'll remember to hide them for the next one. I changed this up a little. This is more, we pulled some of this from the club. All right, so we know that there's 5 types of speeches that we're allowed to do. As you can see, the international and the humorous are different colors because that's what's been chosen. And I think you all should know that by now, that those are the ones that were chosen for us to choose. We as a district have always only done 2 contests a year. We've always done the international because that is required. And then we usually rotate one of the other 4. That has been since I've been here since 2013. So that's how it's always been. I can't tell you that that's how it's going to continue to be, but you'll see that some, if you've been into different districts, you'll see that some of them hold 2 contests a year. And we used to do that years ago. We used to have 2 conferences and 2 contests a year. We gave that up. I think part of it was money. I don't know why. Jim, next slide, please. Okay, so as an area director and division director, it's important for you that you know what your budget is. You know, there is a budget. You need a budget for room. You're going to have refreshments. So what's the budget? So area directors, check with your division directors. Division directors, you should be checking with Jackie. What is your budget? Okay. The location. Area directors, I'm seeing that many of you already have locations and times and dates, and that's great. Division directors, if you have not done that, you should secure it. And I don't know who's what here. I apologize. But if you don't have it, you need to secure it because really you want your location as a division director to be ready when your area directors are competing, are doing their contest. Because part of the end is saying, and such will now compete in the division contest being held, blah, 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 blah. Well, if you don't know that, blah, 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 then it's more work of getting back out. So it's very important that you guys do all this. And I cannot stress enough to you the location, the date, and time to make sure you communicate it. Communicate it often. Not only communicate it to the contestants that are advancing, but you want to communicate it to all your clubs because where do you think you're going to get your judges from? Where do you think you're going to get your functionaries from and your chief judge and all of that? From your contests. So you want to make sure you do that. Next slide, please, Jim. And thank you for doing it.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I actually lost my connection when you were talking about the budget. If you don't mind, can you please repeat that?
Sure. So if you're an area director, check with your division director to see the budget. Some places you have to pay to get in. Some places you don't. I know like the libraries allow us to do that. But also you want small, light refreshments, like maybe water and a couple snacky items if the facility that you're going to allows you to bring it. I have not heard of one that has it that we've been to in the past. So just find out what it is because you do want to have some light refreshments available too. So to check with your area directors, we'll check with the division directors. The division directors will check with Jackie because Jackie should know what the budget is.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So here are the roles that we need to have in order to do a contest. You need your contest chair. Now, your contest chair is the person who does the administrative work. He or she can also be your contest toastmaster. And that's the person who's like the MC of the contest. That can be the same person or it can be 2 different people. Okay. It used to be the same person, but then TI said, okay, you know what? Some people don't like to get up there, don't want to get up. So they want to just learn learn the background of it. So they just want to be the chair and they'll have someone else be the Toastmaster. So again, it can be the same person. It can be 2 different people. Just keep that in mind. You need a chief judge. Okay. before I forget, the contest chair works with the contestants. Okay, that's their responsibility. The chief judge works with the judges and the functionaries. So you have to separate the two of them. And they need to remain separated because the judges should be anonymous as much as possible. Now I know when you're in a room and you're picking up ballots and stuff, it's hard to be anonymous, but we try to keep that anonymous as much as possible. Okay? And we need contestants, obviously. You need judges, timers, ballot counters, and a sergeant of arms. Okay? And we're going to go to the next screen because then I broke it down a little bit more. All right. So what's the contest chair's responsibility? Well, we're hoping now, and I'm going to be honest with you, if you look at the rules, it'll tell you that the contest chair should find the location, but really, at this level, it is really the area director and the division director's responsibility to find the locations. So that's why I did not put that up there. But the contest chair should be promoting it. So they should be promoting it with the contestants. They should be promoting it in the clubs and all of that. And what I mean by promoting it is talking it up. Okay. They're the responsible for getting the contestant forms. Now, the contestants have 2 forms that they need to fill out. They cannot use the forms that they use at the club level. They need new forms. Okay. Every level they need to fill out new forms because it's a new level of competing. So if you get the contestant forms from the club, it's good to have them, but you really need to get new ones. Okay, so send them out early, whoever the contest chair is. Once you get your contestants, send them out, keep track, and make sure that they come back. It's your responsibility, believe it or not, to print the ballots. So you're responsible for all the paperwork, so you should be printing out all of the ballots for the judges and things like that. I know that doesn't sound right, but that's what their responsibility is. And all the timesheets. So there's a timesheet for, there's timesheets for the timers. So you have to make sure that you print all of them out. It's your responsibility to make sure that the contestants are eligible. Now, sometimes that's hard to do, so get your division director in on it if you have to, because they can see the levels that they've competed and things like that. You collect the paperwork, and then you hold a briefing. And we're going to go over the briefing and all of that in a little while. But the briefing has to be done within 24 hours before the contest. So you go over the briefing, and we have scripts for all of that. They're all out on the website, the briefing scripts, as well as the scripts for the contests are out there. Jim put them out there for me. So they're all out there for them to be reviewed. All right, Jim. And stop me if you have any questions.
Yes,
Go ahead,
Patti,
Jim.
Patti,
Yeah.
just pause a moment. This is Amina.
Yeah.
Two questions. So when you're talking about the briefing part to the contestant, you said 24 hours before the event. Is that correct?
Yep. So sometimes in order to make the contest go quicker, they may do a Zoom meeting the night before. And they may do the briefings on Zoom. That's very acceptable. The briefings don't need to be in the room. So they'll have a Zoom meeting the night before, go over the briefings, and then say to them, get there early the next day so they can get up on stage before anything starts, can see what their walking areas is and all of that stuff.
Okay. So example.
Yep.
If we could not do briefing the day before because not everybody available. So say we craft some time during the event. So say we have 2 contests, international and humorous. Would that be a separate briefing?
We do briefings all together. So what you'll do is you'll bring all the contestants in, and I think the briefing starts with the humorous. You do the humorous. Now with these two these 2 contests, the difference basically in the 2 contests is like the humorous is what the goal, what the requirements are. That's the only difference. The timings are the same, all of that stuff, I believe. So for them, it's not bad. You bring them, all the contestants come together. You do one briefing for all the contestants. But understand something. If you have a briefing the night before, you do not have a briefing the day of the contest. It's one briefing.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So second question. about the contestant paperwork. There are
Yep.
two set of paperworks. One
Right.
is the eligibility. Yes, I understand there are checking boxes with the club level, area level, division level.
Yeah. Yeah.
That need to be renewed and signed off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the other one is the profile. The
Right.
profile, would that be something we can keep, or we should have the contestant review? If
The
that is
contestants can send the same profile. So if they did the profile
Okay.
at the club level, they definitely can reuse it. But you really should get new paperwork each time
Got
with
it.
it. Okay, that's up to date.
Okay.
Okay, good questions. We're gonna go more into briefing in a couple minutes. If you want to move on, Jim, please. All right. So again, the briefing can be at least no more than 24 hours prior. Briefings can be tricky in a way because understand something. A contestant can say, I don't want to do the briefing. You know, there's contestants out there that have been doing this for 15, 20 years. They don't want to spend the time. And they have the right to say, I'm not going to do the briefing. However, if they choose, and I want to make sure I say this, if you choose to do the briefing the day of the contest and the contestant is not there when you do the briefing and their alternate is there, the alternate can step in and be briefed. So let me explain what I mean by that. I'm going to use Phil and Jim. Phil is the winner. He's number one. Jim was number two. Phil says, I'm not going to do the briefing. I'm just going to go for the contest. Jim is at the contest. He can step in the briefing. And the reason being is if Jim is not there when we say the contest begins, I mean, if Phil's not there when we say the contest begins, he's eliminated. He cannot compete. Jim will now be the contestant. Does that make sense to you? Amina, you're looking a little confused.
Yeah, can you explain that again?
Sure.
Please?
So Phil is the one who's supposed to be speaking. Jim is his alternate. So he came in number two for Club ABC. Right. Phil says, I'm not going for the briefing. I'm not getting there that early. I'm just going to get there when we start. Jim can say, well, I want to do the briefing because he's number two. He has the right to do the briefing. It doesn't mean he's going to compete, but he still has the right to listen to the briefing. Jim has car trouble and doesn't get in there in time. And we say, okay, this contestant begins. Phil is eliminated. If he is not there when the contest starts, Jim is now the contestant. And that's the tricky part. And unfortunately, we had that happen at district last year.
Okay.
At the district level, unfortunately, we had someone that was coming by train and didn't get there. And believe it or not, the second person was supposed to be one of our judges. So we said, you can compete now if you want to. And they're like, heck yeah. So we pulled them from the judge, put them as a contestant, and had to find a new judge. So it happens, unfortunately. But now Jim can also say, I'm not doing the briefing and show up on time. And that's perfectly fine, too. And he would be the one that would compete.
All right. Okay? As long as the contestant come up on time when we start the contest.
Right. And there is specific rules on what's on time in there. You know, like I say it's when the contest begins. It may even go to the point where they when they actually get their name called. But I think it's when the contest begins. But there's very good language in the rule book. And please, I'm not telling you to spend hours on it, but I really highly recommend you just pick the rule book up, especially look at the eligibility parts, look at it, just read it through once. It's 26 pages, I think, and there's a lot of stuff, but you don't have to read when it says the semifinals or the international. You don't have to read that part. You just care about the club area and division stuff. It'll answer a lot of questions, I promise.
Yes. What
Phil? Patti?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Phil.
Go ahead.
Patti?
Yep.
Just to clarify what you just said about contestants choosing not to be briefed. If so, by virtue of choosing not to be briefed, that does not preclude a contestant from competing if that contestant is at the contest at the start of the contest. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. That is
Okay.
absolutely correct. So if you have the briefing the night before, oh, go ahead, Jim. Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
no. So in your example where I was late or didn't show up, and Jim was my alternate, and he did take the briefing. Now I show up. The fact that Jim took the briefing does not kick me out of the contest, correct?
That's absolutely correct. You
Okay.
don't get kicked out until the contest officially begins. If
Gotcha.
you're not there when we say, okay, the humorous contest now begins, you're eliminated. But if you're in the room and just to say, you know what, I don't want to go listen to that briefing, I've heard it 100 times before, I'm going to sit here and have a snack, that's perfectly fine. Okay. The contest chair also needs to review the paperwork with the contestants. And the reason why I say that is because on that paperwork is the name of their speeches. So you want to make sure that the speeches are correct and all that. And you don't have to do that in the briefing. You can do it beforehand if you want. You can walk up on them and say, okay, this is truly the title of the speech, correct? Because the speech title can change. I can give you a piece of paper and say, 3 weeks ago, this is what my speech title is. And up until we start, I can change that. I can always change my speech up until the time the speech starts. Okay, so the contest starts, I mean. So just keep that in mind. So verify that the speech titles are correct. Verify their names, you're pronouncing the names correctly, and make sure your chief judge understands what their names are too. I mean, we have a lot of diversity on our district, which is great. Just so make sure we don't want to offend anybody. So make sure that the chief judge and you have the names, and don't hesitate to ask. Like I asked Preeti this earlier. Preeti, did I say that correctly? And you want to make sure it's the first and the last name, not just the first. You want to make sure that they know how to say the complete name. When you hold briefings, there's a couple things you're going to go over as part of it. You're going to talk about the timing, how long are your speeches. You're going to read the rules. Again, this is all in the briefing that's out there. You're going to pick the speaking order. So part of the briefing is you decide whatever way you choose to do it, the speaking order. If you're doing an online briefing, they have wheels where you could just do a random wheel. If you're doing it in person, you can take a deck of cards and have them each pick a card, and the one with the highest goes first, or the lowest, whatever you decide, and then it goes that way. Whatever way you choose to do it, as long as you do it in front of them. This is not something the contest chair does on their own. This is something they do with the contestants. And then the speaking location. And what I mean by speaking location is where they speak from. If you're in a big room and the platform that they're on is huge, you may want to tape it off. Say, okay, we're going to go this far to the right, this far to the left, this far back, this far front. So if you do that, you got to say to them, when you go out there, look where the tape is on the floor. Okay. Or you just say, anywhere up front you can speak. Anywhere in that whole front area is where you can speak. So just make sure they're aware where they can speak. That's what I mean by speaking location. Jim, please. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about contestant eligibility. What is the eligibility? So they must be a paid member in the area or the division they are competing. Okay, so that's the thing. Their club must be in good standing. Okay. They must stay eligible throughout all the levels, which means if they are eligible, in our case, it would be, oh, nope, we wouldn't have a problem because we're having it in April. But let's just say, because we're renewals in April, right? The end of April's renewal, the end of March. Can't remember. March. The end of March is renewal, right? Anyways, if there's a renewal period in between a level, then they have to stay eligible. Just if they're eligible at the club, when they're in the club in the area, then their membership lacks. They can't compete in the division. So they have to maintain their eligibility. If in the international speech contest, they must either be a DTM or they must have competed a level 1 and a level 2 from this one same path. So it can't be a level 1 in one path and a level 2 in the other. And this is when you're doing eligibility. That's the hardest part for you to figure out. especially because, as we all know, you can do level 1 and then you can go to level 3. So they have to have 2 levels, 1 and 2. And then if you have a charter club, which I haven't heard of any, but if you have a charter club that has started less than a year, they don't have to meet any eligibilities. There's no eligibility for a club that started, as long as it was chartered before the area contest began. So if a club just charters, just say you're having I think, Phil, yours is February 14th, correct? Or February, your club,
February
your area.
February 7th.
Okay, so February 7th. Say you charter a club on January 15th. Believe it or not, that club can send a member, and they don't have to meet any of these eligibility. If they have a contest, they could send a member to the area. Okay? They don't have to have level 1 or 2 done for the international. They don't have to be a DTM.
Would
Okay,
they be
because
able to continue?
yes, they can continue on. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead, Phil. You have a question?
Yes, question, Patty,
Mm-hmm.
on that subject. For contestants, for clubs that are not holding a club contest, but
Mm-hmm.
wish to send a qualified contestant to
Mm-hmm.
compete at the area level,
Yep.
as the area director and also wearing the contest chair hat at this time as well,
Yep.
what form do I is required for notification of those contestants? I know there's Form 1182, which is you submit that at the end of your club contest, declaring your
Mm-hmm.
winners. Do I
Right.
use the same form or a different form for contestants from clubs who are just being represented by a contestant?
Yeah. So if a club decides not to have a contest, they still need to use that notification of winner form and send it to you. It
Okay.
doesn't matter whether they have actually, to be honest with you, Phil, as area directors, and I don't mean this disrespectful to anyone, it's really none of our business what the clubs do for contests. If they just push people aside or really have a contest, it doesn't really matter until they get to the area. That's where it gets a little more sticky. So if they just say, I mean, I've had clubs say at the last minute, I'll say you need the stuff, and they'll say, well, we didn't have a contest, but John decides that he wants to do it. Well, if the club agrees that John can do it, send me the notification of window that John's doing it.
As an example, we have a member of our club who is considering competing in the humorous, but he hasn't decided for sure yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another question: is there a deadline in terms of notifying the area director or contest chair of your intent to participate?
Yes.
You
So
said,
when, like in yours, you said you wanted everything by January 9th, right? Is that
yeah,
what I believe
yeah,
it? So
yeah.
you gave
That
that
was
deadline January 9th. So if
okay.
they send you anything on January 10th, you've given them a deadline January 9th. Now,
Okay.
do you want to give them a little leeway as the area director? You may, if someone says, "Hey, listen, our VP, he's been really sick. We do have that. Can we have a couple more day extension?" And they say it's this
Right.
person and this person. You may want to
Right.
say, "Okay, that's fine," but
Yeah.
but literally,
Well,
they can't come in at the end of January and say, "Oh, by the way, now I want to compete." No, that's not fair to
right.
everybody
I
else.
understand. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm concerned. I don't expect a flood of contestants. So my concern is trying to encourage and continue to encourage for as long as I can clubs to send contestants. Because
I agree a
I
100%. You
okay.
know, yeah, I
Because I
agree a
think
100%.
as you said earlier, I think we all benefit by a quality contest. The more participants we have, right?
I agree.
So, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. And that's, and you'll find that a lot of the participants in the last couple of years of contests have been fairly new people to the stage. They've been only there 3 months, 6 months, and all of that. Now, there's no qualifications of for education level for the humorous, so they don't have to have completed pass or any of that stuff. So if they want to compete, then that's fine. And if the club wants them to, I agree 100%, Phil. I will tell you, getting them to step out of, and this is from personal experience, guys, getting them to step out of that club to see what's outside those four walls is so beneficial. So beneficial. And that's the why it's great to have these area and division, is to get them that networking opportunity. So if they get just one person, if they don't want a contest, but one person says, I think I might want to do that humorous, then all means, but we still have to give them dead dates, because there's a lot of work that you have to do as contest chairs or chief judges, especially contest chairs, because you have to go through this whole eligibility. You have to get things set up. You have to get paperwork together. And sometimes getting the paperwork is the hardest part, because people just forget about it. So that's the other thing too, is actually they have until the contest starts to give you the paperwork, but it doesn't mean that you want to wait that long. You really want to put also a deadline to that, which should be no more than a week before the contest, and then you may have to send them emails. Hey guys, I really need this. I really need this. I really need this. So, all right. Can we have another next slide? Guys, these are great questions, so please keep them up. All right, so who's ineligible? So anybody who's currently an international district or regional officer, regional advisor, they can't compete. If anyone has stated that they are going to run for office, so they're going to run for a division director, they're going to run for PQD, they're going to run for CGD for next year, they cannot compete. Okay, the past district director cannot compete. This is important too. This is where people get messed up. Judges or functionaries competing in the same contest in any district. So we do have people in our district that are also members of other districts. If they're competing in, just say, the international in the other district, they cannot compete in ours. They can't even be judges in ours. Okay, so that's one question you have to ask. Now, if they're competing in an evaluation contest in another division, then they can compete as in ours, because we're not holding the same contest. And then anybody who's already signed up to be a presenter at any one of our educational sessions in the convention, in the conference, or at any international. So sometimes we get people that will go to the international conference and present. They cannot also be, they're not eligible to compete. Jim, please. All right. So
we have to verify that any contestant is not going to be a presenter at a conference, or
we tell them if they're going to be in our conference. We ask them, are you involved in the conference? So let's put it this way: we've had people, and it's unsure, that they've competed in the club, they've competed in the area, then they say, oh, you know what, I want to compete at the conference. So we tell them point blank when they go, if you are in the contest, if you've been in the area contest, you either have to say, I'm not competing at the division level, or you can't present in the conference. So they can't do both. So it's their decision. Okay. So that's a hard part. So you have to ask them that. You also have to ask them, are you in part of any other district? Same thing with judges. Are you part of any other district? Are you competing in any of their contests? This is something all new to us. We never had to worry about this, because pre-COVID, people really didn't, everything was in person. So people weren't part of a club in the Philippines or a club up in Canada, because, you're not going to drive to Canada once a week to go to a Toastmaster meeting. But now with COVID and a lot of them are online. Well, now we have to ask these questions. All right. So is there any questions about the contest chair rule?
One thing about the eligibility of the contestant, I think it's one slide before the chief judge, is about how do we verify? I know there's a form the contestant have to fill out and sign that they agree and consent what the eligibilities are. But from a contestant chair perspective, how can they verify? Because sometimes people don't read and just sign it. And they say there's a contestant who is in a club, is not part of the charters club, and they are not completing level 1 or level 2? How can we find out?
Okay, so as far as being a paid member in a club in good standing, you should be able to do that because you should be able to get
Right.
all your meme. As
Right.
far as level 1 and level 2, you can ask them. You can check with their VPE. Just go to the, write email
Okay.
VPE. I see that John Smith is, wants to compete in the
Got it.
international. Can you verify that he
Mhm.
has competed, that he's completed a level 1 and a level 2 in the same
Same
path?
level, same
Yep.
path.
And if they come back and say yes, then you've done your due diligence.
Got it. Thank you.
Unfortunately, years ago we had a nice report and it would tell us,
Mhm.
that level. But now that you can do levels out of order,
Mhm.
that really, unless you're a DTM, that really doesn't help.
Okay.
Now they're a DTM, then you don't have to worry about it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, one more up, Jim. Go up one. Okay. So let's move over to that rule. So we're done with the contest chair. Again, the contest chair I just talked about, we're talking about the administrative part of it. We're not talking about the other part at the day of the thing. This is pretty much all the background stuff that they have to do. So let's talk about a chief judge. If you are finding a chief judge, they should really be familiar with the rules. So they really should read the rule book, especially the eligibility part, and all of that stuff. So they really should be familiar with the rules. It is their responsibility to get the judges and functionaries. Now, as area directors and division directors, you really should be helping with them because they may not know all of the clubs and all of the people that can assist. They're responsible for collecting the judges form. So the judges do have to fill out a form saying that they've met the eligibility to judge. And they have to confirm the judge's eligibility. And then they too hold a briefing. There's a briefing for judges as well as contestants. Jim, next slide, please. So again, all the briefings and the script for the contest is out on the website. And I'm going to ask Jim to go out there after we finish so you can see them. All right. So for the eligibility for judges, they have to be a paid member for 6 months in a club that's good standing. Okay. Oh my gosh, I spelled educational wrong. I'm sorry. For educational requirements, they have to have either completed, thank you, Jim, completed 6 speeches in the Competent Communicator Manual. And that's the manual probably none of you have ever heard of. That's the manual pre what we're doing now. So it's pre-pathways. That's the first manual that we've done. Okay, so they have to that, or they have had to complete level 1 or 2 from the same path or DTM. So those are the education requirements. Phil, you got a question? No? You're on mute, honey.
Bill's on mute.
Yes.
Yes. So no, not really a question, but I didn't realize that the CC manual is grandfathered. So if
Yeah.
you have an experienced Toastmaster who's been around a long time, who may just recently starting off in pathways, he or she can still qualify as a
Mm-hmm.
judge.
Yep, they can.
Or
Yep.
yeah,
Oh.
okay.
All right, next. Jim, please. Now, this is what the most, to me, and I'm not trying to say it, this is the hardest part of any contest is getting the judges. Now, the judges for the area contest, and look at the word minimum, a minimum of 5, and that minimum word comes in importance, and I'll explain why in a minute. In the division, it's a minimum of 7, and this is why I said this is where it comes in, because if you are having members of your club judge, you have to have an equal number from each club or each area. So each club if you're doing an area contest, each area if you're doing a division contest. So Phil, you're unmuted. You're muted, unmuted. So how many clubs do you have?
6.
Okay. So Jim would need to have 1 judge from each of those 6 clubs. Or and he would have 6 and he would read his minimum. But if he can't get a club, if he gets a club that says, nope, I can't, I don't want to do it, I want to do it, I don't want to do it, then he has to, he can do it 5, but he can get it outside the club. So he can use another area to help judges. Because judges cannot come from clubs where they're sending a contestant. At the division level, not at the area level, at the division level. So if let me explain this, I hope I can do it. So Phil has 6 people, 6 clubs. If all of them are sending people, that's great. Because then he's going to have one judge from each club, and he's great. But if he gets one club that doesn't send a judge, then we have problems here. Because now the other 5 clubs, they have an advantage, right? Because each one of those clubs have a contestant and they have a judge, but the 6th club has a contestant with no judge. So we have a concern there. So with that being there, Phil would want to make sure he has additional judges. So they can't say that one club is favored. He couldn't have, also to meet his minimum, he couldn't have one club that sends 3 judges and another club that sends 2 judges. Can't do that. Okay? But if he has one from each of the 5 clubs and then someone else, that's fine. Because it's not showing favoritism to a club. So basically what they're saying is you can't have all the judges come from one club, because now, let's face it, that contestant is going to be favored. If the contestant, if there's a club that doesn't have a contestant, you still can ask for judges and functionaries from that club. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Because that's the hardest one to understand. Is it's got to be equal, it's got to be level. So if Jim has 6 clubs and he gets 5 out of the 6 sending it, that should be fine, because there's no favoritism. Okay. It would be nice if you could get all 6, but he got 5 and there's no favoritism. Okay. Yep.
Patty, suppose you have one has trouble recruiting qualified judges from the clubs in his her area, my area. We can. At what point do we start looking for additional resources? We either go outside our area or go to our division director or go to the district to see if we can find people who may be able to support us.
That's a good question. Yep. So, Phil, if you have 6 clubs and you got 5 judges, one from each of the other clubs, you're fine. Okay? You're not showing any favoritism.
Okay.
But you couldn't have like two of your clubs that send contestants not judged, because then if you try to take the other 3 clubs or 4 clubs and you have 2 judges from each one of them, not right. That's not right. That shows favoritism. So it's really a fine tooth, and we can go more over it after once if you want to call me or anything. Yeah, and say this is what I have. We can say, yep, that's legit, or no, that's not legit.
Well, I'm just thinking, like who would be my chief judge, for example, in my area. I know that a person in one of their clubs has been the chief judge in her own contest, and she's qualified and understands the rules. But would she be eligible to be a chief judge at the area level?
Okay, so let's understand something. The regular judges and the chief judge, 2 separate things. The chief judge can come from anywhere. The chief judge cannot vote, so they can't show favoritism. So if the chief judge is in club ABC and they're sending another judge from ABC, that is perfectly fine.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay,
Yep.
because that chief judge cannot do anything. They can't even be a tiebreaker judge. And I will tell you, I know I've seen it where they're short on judges and the chief judge says, well, I'll just be a tiebreaker judge. Hopefully that you won't need me. But the chief judge has no voting capacity whatsoever. They're there for the administrative and the enforcement of the rules. That is it. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the tie-breaking judge, on the other hand, is You know what? I don't even. That's a good question. I don't even remember if the tie-breaking judge has to. I got the rule book up on the other computer. Let me bring it up. I'm trying to think of a
Um,
tie. I don't think the tie-breaking judge either two shows it because they're not. They're only there for a tiebreaker. So I don't know how that affects the regular judges. That's so let me look into that in a minute. I have my other computer powering up because it died. It went to sleep on me, and I'll look at it. So we'll come
So
back to. Go ahead.
you only you have, let's say you have 6 judges, and the final ballot ends up with a tie. Do you at that point you go to the tie-breaking judge?
Right. So if you have 6 judges, it would be 6 judges and a tie-breaking judge. Okay. So the
Right.
tiebreaker judge goes. So when he or she fills out the form, he gives that ballot directly to the chief judge. It doesn't go to the ballot counters, and it's
Okay.
kept separate. 99.9% of the time, okay, I've been doing this, I don't know what, 10 years, 12 years, whatever, and I've been doing rules of this. I think I have used a chief tie-breaking judge once at an area level. That is it. Very rarely do you need them, but they're there for that reason. So you take no, the ballot counters do not see that. Only the chief judge gets it. You put it aside. You only use it if you have a tie. That's it. That's it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And Patty, one other question, coming back to what Phil was asking before. So I'm serving like 4 clubs. So if this is the case where the minimum is 5 and I have only 4, and maybe just 2 of them are able to, nominate someone as their judge, that they can, they that comes up. But can I get help from Toastmasters for the other remaining numbers?
You can. Yep. You can go out. You can check with your division director and ask for assistance from maybe another area, and the area will send someone. Or if you only have 4 clubs, ask them each for 2 judges and have 8 judges, because then you're still playing fair. Each judge as 2. Now, on the other way, too, if you have 4 and only 3 of them are sending, so you have four things. 3 of them are sending contestants, and 3 of them are sending judges. That 4th club, in my opinion, can send 2 to make it 5, because they're not showing favoritism. They don't have anyone competing. Okay, so to me, that's not showing favoritism. Okay, you have 1 from each of the club that's competing, and then you have 2 from a club that's not sending a contestant. So to me, that's not showing any favoritism, and you can use those 2. So you can play with it, but if all 4 of them are sending contestants, then I would start by saying I need 2 judges from each. And again, it's really the international where you're going to, that you need to have the level 1 and level 2. The other one, the humorous, you don't need any requirements. It's the international where they have to have the level 1 and level 2. So that's where we run into the problems. But for the humorous contest, and just so you know, you can have different judges for different contests. So you can have 5 people jump, you could go there and have 5 people that said, well, I don't have my level. I only completed a level 1, but I want to judge. That's fine. Okay. If they're from 5 different things, they could do the humorous. But it's now the international, they have that different requirement where now they have to leave 1 and 2. So the international is the one that really is the hardest to get judges for. But if you get them, you always try to get them to do both contests. Does
Oh,
that make
Patty,
sense? Yeah.
my area also has 4 clubs, and my area contest is coming very rapidly, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to continue the communication, but I don't have confirmation of contestants. I only have
Okay.
confirmation of contestants from only 1 out of 4 clubs,
Okay.
and that includes judges and functionaries and contestants.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking that I may need to move my contest to later in February so that we have more time to communicate and gather contestants and judges. Anyway,
There's nothing wrong with moving it. I mean, the district says when you can have them. So if you have to
Yep.
change the date, that's fine. I would just make sure that the contestant that you know of right now
can
knows
still
that
make
it's
that date.
changing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you go with when the district says that they want the contest done by, then you can change it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so I think we did this again. Remember, the chief judge has no say in any of the outcome. He's there as the enforcer per se, to know the rules, to answer questions, to do the briefing. But no, he doesn't vote at all. All right, any questions?
Well,
Go
just
ahead, Joe.
one question or comment.
Yeah.
Is it is it desirable then to try to staff your area contest with members of the clubs in your area and not go outside of your area? Well, I'll tell you what. In our case, we have a joint contest between areas A11 and A13.
Mm-hmm.
So so we'll be, we should have hopefully enough qualified role players,
Mm-hmm.
judges, functionaries from just the clubs. But
Right.
I wondered if it's desirable or recommended to seek some functionaries, judges in particular, from who may be more experienced or from outside the your own areas or or perhaps the district. I don't know. I don't want to burden the district because I know
Yeah.
people are involved in so many things. So it would
Mm-hmm.
seem to me that if you can pull off your contest within your own resources, within your own area or areas, if it's a dual contest, then that would be most desirable. Is that
That's you. You've hit it on the nose. You're absolutely positively right. Because remember, it's networking. So to pull other people into there where people may never ever meet them again, it's not good networking. You want to try to stay within those your area, because in order for an area to be strong, you want all your clubs to be strong. So getting them to work together like at a contest, it only builds the area. Plus it honestly, as an area um oh my God, director, it helps you out because they'll start bringing things together. They'll start talking among themselves. They'll start helping each other, with questions that they may originally come for you, but then someone will say, oh, no, no, I did that. This is what you need to do, things like that. So you want to stay as much within the area as possible, Phil. If you have to step out, that's fine. But staying within that area, and the fact that you have two areas doing it together, you really should not have a problem. If you
right?
get, you should, and again, if you work together with the two of them, then they can judge each other's too.
Yeah,
They can
we.
vice versa. They can judge together. If
Yes.
you have six clubs in one area and five in the other, and you each have a contestant. They each have contestants, and they each have a judge. Have 11 judges. I mean, that's a lot of judges. But if you
Yeah.
want to have 11 judges, by all means, have 11 judge. Have them judge both. Area contests. Just do it. But just
Yeah.
as long as you reach that minimum, that's what's important, is the minimum part.
Yeah. We discussed that in our Division A meeting with Ann Miller, that
Uh-huh.
because there's four areas,
Uh-huh.
and we're having two contests,
Right.
each
I saw that.
contest being two combined areas. So
Right.
the idea was that if you have enough judges, you have the judges of area one
Mm-hmm.
judging the area two contest, and the judges from area two judging the area one. Then you have complete
Yep. Yep.
impartiality.
Yep. Yep. I
Just,
agree
Oh,
100%.
but
okay,
if it,
thank you.
but if it's the same time frame, it's just a longer meeting for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. But you know what? And this, I'm going to be honest with you. If it's run right, it doesn't seem like a longer meeting. And this is why I'm glad you're here, Phil, to listen to what, because if it's run right and run properly and you have the right people doing the work, like especially in this case, if you have the right person being the contest toastmaster, then it will run smoothly.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. You want to go to the next slide for me?
Sorry,
All right.
one
So
other.
yeah,
Sorry, Patty. One other question. Can you explain the last point in the previous slide about the
about the
division?
chief judge is not a voting judge.
No, the judges cannot be from a club in which there is a contestant
At
at
the
division.
division level, so
Yes.
not at the area level, but at the division level, judges cannot, if they're sending a contestant to either of the speeches, they cannot have a judge from that club. So at the division level, not at the area level. So meaning if you're in Club ABC and you have a contestant, then Club ABC cannot provide a judge. They can provide a sergeant of arms, they can provide a timer, they can provide a ballot counter. They cannot provide a judge at the division level. And same thing at the district level. But at the area
Okay.
level, it's okay as long as it's not all from one club, as long as it's evenly distributed among all the clubs.
Okay. Got it.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so then you need 2 timers, 2 ballot counters, and 1 sergeant of arms. Okay, you can have more than 2 ballot counters. I wouldn't go more than 3. So if you have people that want to step up and want to do it, then by all means get a 3rd ballot counter in there, and the sergeant of arms. Now with the 2 contests that we're having, the sergeant at arms does not play a big role as if they would in an evaluation contest or table topics, where the contestants have to step out of the room. But the sergeant of arms still is there to make sure that the doors are secure, people do not come in when people are talking, and that if someone does decide as a contestant not to stay in the room and hear everybody else's speeches, that the sergeant of arms would go get them when it's their turn to speak. Okay. All right, so the chief judge. So what the chief judge does after the ballots are counted and everyone spoke, and at the end, they have 2 forms that they have to fill out. The first is the notification of winner form, which goes on to the next level. So in the area level, that's the form that you would hand over to your division director. At the division level, that would hand over to the district the district contest master, or myself, chief judge. They also prepare a results form, and that's the winner and that goes to the contest toastmaster to announce the winner. Okay, and then they provide that form to the contest toastmaster. So that's what they do at the end of the contest. After everything's done and they're in the room with the ballot counters, those are the forms that they need to fill out before they come. Now, I think in some cases you may have certificates that you need to fill out too. I don't know how you're running that at your level. That's totally up to you. All right. So once the contest is over, now this is the contest Toastmaster. And again, if the contest chair is playing Toastmaster, it's their responsibility. They announce if there's any disqualifications. They don't name the person who's disqualified. They just say we had 1 disqualification because of time. End of discussion. Then they announce the winners backwards, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Okay. And then they forward the winners either, I put area director, but it should be actually to the division director or the district director. So I have to change this thing because this was for the clubs, but they actually just pass it on to the next level. Okay. Okay, so I put it as other stuff. So things that I probably have said, but just in case I didn't say it, I wanted to do. Judges need to remain anonymous as much as possible, which means the briefings for the contestants and the briefings for the judges are done in 2 separate rooms. Usually, as people walk in, you would hopefully have a side room where you could throw like your judges in. So if a judge comes in and checks in, you say you need to go to that room, and you keep them part of the contestants, keep them separated from the minute they walk in the room. Okay. If you can't do that, and they all have to, you all have them entering in, like in Bethel. I'm just trying to remember. If you have them all in the library part, when you go to separate the briefings, you pull the contestants out, not the judges. You leave the judges in the main room, pull the contestants out, go do their briefing, and then either take a part of that room to do your judges briefing or then pull them out secondly to go do their briefing. Okay, so does that make sense? Because everyone knows who the contestants are. Everyone's not supposed to know who the judges are. So that's why you would pull the contestants out, put them wherever they are to do the briefing. Then if you're going to pull your judges out, pull them out or do the briefing in a separate room. You do not allow the contestants back into that main room till the judges have already been fully briefed. So you don't do the contestant briefing and then they're finished and you let them walk in and then they see all these other people huddled in a corner. Well, now they know who their judges are. So you have to have some little, keep that still anonymous. You can't hold more than one role in a contest. So you can't be a sergeant of arms and a ballot counter. You can't be the contest chair and the contest chief judge. You can't hold more than one role. You cannot hold a role so if you're a contestant in a contest, even if it's in a different district, you can't hold a role in our contest. And I think I went over this. So if you're competing in a different district in the humorous contest, you can't be a judge in our contest. You can't be a sergeant of arms in our contest. You can't be a ballot counter. You can't hold another role. Okay. The contest toastmaster can be appointed. So if the contest master wants to pick a contest toastmaster, they can appoint one. And then I already talked about the contestants missing the briefing, that they have a choice to miss it, but they must be back before the contest begins or must be present before the contest begins. Okay, here's some helpful hints. Get a location early. So if most of the areas it looks like they are, so get it early. Communication is again really important. So make sure you let the clubs know. Not even if they're not sending a contestant, let them know. Let their members know because they can come and cheer on other people. They can come in and play a role. Make sure the judges read the ballots before they do it. Before the day. So just say to them, hey, the ballots are out online. Don't hesitate to read them. You don't hand them the ballots to the briefing. You give them in the briefing, but don't hesitate to say to them, hey, why don't you go out and look at the ballots? They're out on TI, just so they have an understanding what they're judging against, especially new ones. I can't stress enough that the contest, go ahead.
Yeah, that just raises the question in my mind, what is there a training for judges or a resource for judges on how to be an effective judge? You have qualified people who may not have done a lot of judging. And we explain that here's the ballot, and it tells you on the back the criteria how you're supposed to judge. But beyond that, is there any way for members, to learn to become more competent and effective judges? Other than, I guess not.
So there is a training available because I've seen it, and I will definitely be more than happy to do a training, like in the middle of January, for people that think they may want to judge. So let me work on that with Jackie and get a date. It would be a Saturday because I think that's better for everybody. But like a Saturday morning to do, or maybe I'll do like two of them, one on a Saturday, and one on a Monday or Tuesday night. And just. Yeah, that's a good idea.
It was just a thought. I mean, nope. I don't know. I can't speak for potential judges to say that any of them would attend, but
no, you know what? I think that's a great idea, Phil. A great idea, and I will definitely.
From my own perspective and my own experience, I remember one time going to a conference and there was a presentation on how to be an effective judging. And I thought it was very helpful, but it was a long time ago, and I haven't come across anything recently that helps us to learn to be judges other than practice, doing it at more, getting more experience in your own club and at the area and division levels.
I definitely will look into that because it's not even if they're not judging at an area or division or district, it would be still good for people, new members, to even maybe feel a little more confidence about judging. So I definitely will
Good.
look into that and get something scheduled I'll probably do mid-January after the holidays, plus
Okay.
give time to get it out into the newsletter and stuff.
Yeah,
So I will
I
work.
think that'll be a good idea, Patty. I was thinking about that, and thanks, Phil, for bringing up this question. And I think maybe a handout would help too, just in case somebody is not able to join the trainings. At least they can read out, what's their eligibility criteria and what they should know. I know we have it in our um, uh, this training rule book, but
Mhm.
if there is anything else that we can share with them, just maybe a cutout from something, and we can share, and not just the judges. I think for every functionary who will be supporting, maybe we can share so that they are aware of the complete rules, and they don't have to go in and read the complete rule book. They can just read their part, and they would be aware of what they
Yep. So that's a great thing, and it is part of the briefing. But I think you're right by pulling it out of the briefing and giving like Sergeant of Arms what they do and all that. But in the timers, but I think it's right that you should that for them to have a document beforehand so they can kind of look over and it actually sometimes it maybe help them. All right, Jim, I'll be quick. May help them decide whether or not they want to continue. Um, all right, let's go. Okay, so make sure that your contest. Oh, I'm not finished. One more up. Where do we go? Make sure that the contest master and the chief judge reads the briefing beforehand. That part and the next part are what's going to make your contest run smooth. Nothing is worse than having someone like through a briefing don't even know what they're supposed to be saying. So they really should be familiar with the briefing before they give it. So again, have them read it beforehand. The same thing with the script. Make sure the contest toastmaster and the chief judge read the script. Okay, so it's again, Jim. Do you have TI open by chance? Can you open it real quick? And then make sure, not TI, I'm sorry, D53, our website, and make sure that that everything is read in order. While he's getting that, I want to say something, and I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, so please understand this. This is just from years of seeing this. When you get that contest toastmaster, and this has happened more than once, and it's really a shame, make sure you're getting someone that understands it's not about them, it's about the contestants. Because more than once, I have seen contest Toastmasters rambling on and on and on, either at the beginning or in between speeches, and that is not okay. It's okay for them to give a little bit of experience before, like why they like the humorous, why the international, why they feel it's important for people to be here, but they should not be giving their point of view throughout a contest. That is not the point. It's them to, yes, bring in the audience, but it's not them to take over. The contestants are the ones that should be taking over everything. So just keep that in mind, please. Does that make sense to you, what I'm trying to say? Yeah. You don't want, and I don't want to use the word showboat, but I think you all know what I'm talking about. Somebody who just and that's not a good contest toastmaster. Okay, they really need to make sure that they're focusing on the contestants. Something else that's very important, and it's in the scripts, but just to keep in mind, there's absolutely no contact with a contest toastmaster and the contestants, meaning they do not shake hands when they take the stage or anything. There is no contact between them. That's good things. So if you see down in the District 53, um, if you see down when you get to Toastmaster in our site, there is a contest site. There is a whole thing that says contest briefing and scripts. And what I did this year, just so you know, if you've done these in the past year, you'll know that it was a nightmare. I didn't put all the briefings out here. I just put the briefings for the scripts that we're using. Last year, they had everything together, all 5 contests, and you had to pick in through the pages that we were using for the speeches that we're conducting. Here, you'll see 4 separate you'll see a briefing for the contestant. You'll see the functionary briefing, which is also considered the judge's briefing. And then you see what's the script that's going to be used for international, what the script that's going to be used for humorous. Last year, those two were together, and you're reading on and you're looking down, you're on page 1, and then the next thing you know, you're on page 15, and people are like, okay, what is going on here? So I have separated them into two separate briefings. So they're all there for you. Print them out, send them to your chief judges, send them to your functionaries to look at. You can share that with them. There's nothing confidential in this stuff that you can't share with people. Okay. The scripts, they don't need to have, the contestants don't need to have that, but you can send the scripts to your contest Toastmaster. Okay. Any questions? Because I think Jim has to leave at 11, right, Jim? Yeah. All right. And I said I wanted to keep this under 2 hours, so an hour and a half is good.
Questions about agenda. What would you think about agenda?
You should have an agenda, but don't. So when you're having agenda, a couple of things to keep in mind. When you're naming the contestant, they should not have any designation. They should not have the club number. They should not have their levels, nothing. John Smith, all of that, just the names, and put them in alphabetical order, because you're not going to probably have their speaking order before you do the agenda, right? Okay. Because so put them in alphabetical order, and humorous speech contestants, and then in parentheses alphabetical order, so people know, and you can go alphabetical order by first name, last name, whatever you choose to do. I think agendas are nice. I think people like to have that paper in their hand to see what's going on. I don't believe, in my opinion, I don't think they're required, but I do think it's a nice touch. Make sure when you have the agenda there, that, again, you know functionaries' names, no judges' names on there. I mean, like, if, just say, well, they can't judge, but just say you had someone like a division director judging, they you can have them listed on the side as a division director, but you wouldn't want that anywhere else. Does that make sense to you when I say that?
Okay. Just a very brief, high level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. I have to find it because I haven't used it in years, but I do have an Excel spreadsheet that I've used when I've done contest chairs, where it has all the breakdown of what the contest chair needs, like the forms. So what basically is, on one side you list the contestant name and their club, and then you can keep track of, you've got forms and stuff in, and then on the bottom part it's the same thing for the judges. So if you're doing both jobs, you can or you're helping with both jobs, you can keep track of the judges. It's helpful as also a check-in resource when you're checking people in. I will look for that in my hundreds of emails, and I will actually definitely send that out to you guys. You don't have to use it, but I want to clean it up too and get people's names out. But it's a nice tool if you want to stay organized, because then you just type in the contestant's name and their club, and then it says paperwork sent, you put a check. Paperwork received, yup. And then when they get there, check them in, yup. So then you know where you are with everybody. Because at the club level, if you have 6 clubs and 2 contests, and that's 12 different people you're getting paperwork for, unless they're competing in the same. And if they're competing in the same once the same person's competing twice, you still need their paperwork for 2 contests. So I will get that together, and I'll get it out to you early this week so you guys can have it if you want to use it. All right. Any questions for me, guys, before we call this a day? Because, again, like I said, this is for you guys.
Hey, Patty, I put a paragraph in the chat there, but in my club, we have like a competitive nature fostering between some members, and there's no noticeable negativity yet. However, I'm a little weary, of it coming up. Can anyone speak to like experiences they had with people getting competitive and how it went. Like it could certainly be friendly competition, but I can also see it getting a little too competitive. Anyone have anything they could, an experience or something like that where they dealt with something like that? And it's great enthusiasm, and it gets everyone
Yeah.
doing a lot more than they were before, to be honest.
And actually, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes competitiveness is good.
Right.
Because, like you said, it brings the club together, it brings it closer. But I can see that it can also be negative, and that's where your executive teams need to step in and say, "Hey, guys, just remember, we're all here for the benefit of all of us growing.
Okay.
It's fun to have a little competition.
Right.
And it's fun, but let's make sure we keep it as healthy competition to make the club better."
Right.
And things like that. Because I will tell you that we've used different kinds of charts in clubs that have taken clubs that have literally ready to close and turn them into distinguished clubs in less than a year, because they've taken that and they've used it as healthy competition, as you said, Michael, where they've
Exactly.
used it and challenged each other and made each
Right.
other better, as opposed to saying, I did better. Like, using the thing I said before, as opposed to Phil saying, "Ha, Jim, I beat you again. You just
Right.
can't get number one," something like that. So,
No.
and that's something the executive team needs to be aware of. That, and I don't know if you're on the executive team in your club, but that's
Ab-
something they should be aware of. And if they're not aware of it, then as a club member, it doesn't hurt to put a bug in your ear saying, "Hey, it looks like Jim and Phil, as always, they're competitive. It may be starting to get a little bit more than that, so that they
Okay.
can keep an eye on it."
Okay, so yeah, I think what you said just reinforced. It's healthy to walk the line.
Yep.
But you got to be careful. So, but like I said, there has been no, nothing's crossed the line or anything at this time. It's just, it's there's competitions, and it makes people competitive at times.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
yep, and it can be healthy and it can be negative, and it's unfortunate that that's the world we live in.
Right.
All right, guys. Any other questions? Thanks for that one, Michael. Phil, Amina, Freddie.
No, thank you very much, Patty.
I'm good.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Listen.
Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
I think you all have from the email have my phone number, have my email address. Feel free to reach out. I will tell you, I check my emails once a day, maybe once every other day. I check my texts all day long. So if you need to talk, just say, "Hey, this is Phil. Can we talk? This is my number. I'm free Wednesday night." Or, "Hey, Patty, I really need to talk to you. What's your what is your capacity?" I respond to texts a lot quicker. Just so we all know. If you need to get a hold of me. So otherwise, I appreciate your time this morning. I wish you all the best. I will try to get out as many area contests as possible. I love going to them. If you really feel that you're struggling as you get closer, don't hesitate to text me and say, "Listen, I really need you there. Is it possible for you to get there?" And I'll go there, but understand I'm going there as a chief judge. I'm not going there to do anything and tell you what to do. I'm there for questions. So I'm leaving it still in your hands unless you come to me. I will not take over. I will not control. That's not my responsibility. When I get to the district level, well, then, yeah, I'll take control because that's my responsibility. But I definitely will be more than happy to help you out as much as possible. All right.
Thanks
All right,
very
guys.
much,
Thanks
Patty.
so much. Have a good, happy holidays.
Happy
Merry
holidays
Christmas.
to
Happy New
everyone.
Thank
Year's.
you.
Whatever you're celebrating, please celebrate it safely. And we'll see you around, okay?